brought up an interesting one, Ricochet. I think Ricochet feels right in WWE. They're just not using him properly.
I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, where do you think he should be?
If not AEW, Impact.
I think he's too big for Impact. Impact now. Now, if Impact got bigger, sure.
I see him if he Impact now or TNA. Only because
in TNA back in the day, yeah, he would have been a mainstay in the X division and eventually would have been in the world title picture.
That's what I'm saying. Even in Impact now, because he could be like Chris. Here's my theory on that one.
Okay.
The reason why is because I see a lot of an up and coming wrestler. He wrestles in Impact right now, but he reminds me of a younger version of Ricochet. His name's Chris Bay. Okay, Chris Bay reminds me of a younger version of Ricochet with the things he can do and everything. So it's like, okay. And Ricochet doesn't have that type of thing of people to work off of when it comes to doing the athletic stuff. I mean,
but I think that might be one of the things. I think he can work. So, a little bit of fantasy booking here. I think where they really messed up when they brought him to NXT, he was white hot. He had the rocket strapped to him. They got him out of NXT way too soon. Now, I understand why they did it, because they needed to fill talent on the main roster. That's why he and Aleister Black and a bunch of other guys, I want to say Tommaso Ciampa, they all got bumped up to the main roster at some point.
Well, Ciampa's not on the main roster.
Yeah, he's not anymore, but at one point in time, I know Ricochet and Aleister Black got bumped up to the main roster, and they've stayed there.
Right.
I think Ricochet could have really used a run. I would have liked to see a much slower run. I would have liked to have seen him be the NXT North American champion for a while and then get into the NXT champion title picture. Be the NXT champion, have a good run, maybe do a program with Finn Balor, like if he was still in NXT. And they can still do this. If they put Ricochet back in NXT, I think they could really build him up, because the one thing he seems to be lacking from a character standpoint is he can do all these really cool things, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of aggression there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. Because he's used to the whole Ospreay thing.
Right, exactly.
Of working with him. That's why I said there's not really many people on the main roster per se that he can really do stuff like that with.
Right.
That's why I see him as a fit in Impact, because there's guys his size that he could do stuff with like that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think he needs to work with so if I were in charge of creative right now, I would say, hey, if I were in charge of NXT creative, I would say, like, hey, give me Ricochet, let me do a program with him and Finn Balor, and I'd run it for like a year. Like, do a real slow burn rivalry, because those two, similar size. Ricochet's probably a little bit more high flying, but Finn can go. Like, right. Finn can match that intensity. I think it'd be a hell of a program. And it would, for one thing, you would not miss NXT.